Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundy, how are you doing?
Doing good. Doing well. It's been a bit of a tough couple days watching Vegas win some games, but we're hanging in there. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so torn on this series because I'm not the biggest fan of either teams, but honestly, Vegas is winning me over a little bit.
Nah, I can never say it. Like I can admit that they're playing very good right now, but I don't think there'll ever be a time where they win me over. But I do
It's
give credits due for the way that they're playing right now.
Yeah, they're playing very well, and it also doesn't help that it is now we're into Pride Month, and so all the stuff about the Stahl brothers is popping back up again. So
Yeah.
you know, it might be a little nice to see them lose in the finals around this time of year.
Yeah, and well, I mean, even going along with Pride Month, Ivan Provorov was involved in a three-way. A three-way trade the other day, getting sent off to Columbus of all places.
Yeah, there was not a ton of like rumors or stuff about this. Like a couple hours before, there was rumors that a three-way trade would happen, and then it just kind of went through.
Yeah, there's really no rumors or indication or anything that he was going to be traded. Like there was always kind of talks throughout the year, like, oh, maybe he'll be traded. Like now that Philly's kind of gonna have to go more towards a rebuild, but then this trade just kind of it came out of nowhere, and of all things, Philly sending Provorov to a divisional opponent of theirs. So
I don't know if Provorov's going to make or break the Blue Jackets too much, but I think a lot of people thought that they might have to, with Provorov's contract, they might have to like not get pennies on the dollar for him, or might even have to pay to get rid of him. But they got a pretty good haul.
yeah, they got a really hot, and I don't even think Provorov's necessarily a bad defenseman by any means. I think he's always just kind of he's always just been in kind of a shitty situation with Philadelphia, pretty much almost kind of since he got there. So it'll be interesting to see him on Columbus and see what kind of role he plays on that team and what opportunities he's given to maybe kind of show that he is still, because what was he was I believe he was a top 10 pick, was he not, in 2015?
He was definitely a first rounder.
I think he went
sounds familiar.
Like 7th or 8th overall, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that. While you're looking that up, I'm just going to outline for the listeners the trade in total. So the Columbus Blue Jackets acquire Ivan Provorov. The LA Kings acquire Hayden Hodgson and Kevin Knutson. And the Philadelphia acquires Cal Peterson, Sean Walker, Helge Grands, a Columbus 2023 first round pick from LA, and a Columbus 2024 or 25 second round pick. Probably conditions on that. And then LA's second round pick for 2024. That's quite a bit of stuff that Philly got.
And LA retained 30% of Provorov's contract because he's only got 1 year remaining.
Right.
So it was kind of a, somewhat of a cap dump for LA because they were able to get rid of Sean Walker and Cal Peterson, which then they ended up using that money to sign Gavrikov to a 2-year extension to keep him with the team, which I think was LA's biggest priority.
I heard that they were looking at it. I didn't see that it went through. What were the numbers on that? Do you know?
It was a 2-year extension, I think at about 5.3. I'll look it up just to get the for sure number. 5.875 mil for 2 years.
Wow. Like that's the AAV?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's pretty steep.
It's not bad though, but you have to overpay a bit if you want to do a shorter term because it's only for 2 years.
That's true.
So it's not a terrible contract when you look at it that way. But if it was a 4 or 5 year deal at that, then it's getting to be a pretty dicey one. And Provorov was drafted 7th overall in 2015. So he's a top 7 pick.
Yeah. Well, I guess good for LA for dumping some of that cap, because they really good thing they're using it, because they didn't get a ton in this trade, unless one of these guys out of nowhere decides to really be something.
Yeah. More than anything, it was really just a cap dump for LA, so they could keep Gavrikov there, and now it opened the door for Philadelphia, and I guess they're shopping Carter Hart around. So it sounds like the rumor price to kind of get talks started is going to be 2 first-round picks. So I'm not sure how many teams are really going to be, entertaining anything like that when the price is kind of set at that for the bare minimum to get talks started.
Yeah, I remember his going into his second season, after he had such a good rookie campaign. A lot of people were like picking him as a dark horse to win the Vezina, and then he put up like sub 900 numbers, and I think he's definitely still got the skill to be a true starter in the NHL. But Philly has had a not very good team in front of them, but even worse defense. They're a lot of the times when you see viral clips of somebody walking through the team and scoring, you wouldn't be surprised if you're watching it happen to Philly.
Yeah, and honestly, more than anything, I just look at it and I just think Philly's just had the worst luck as a franchise within the last 5 or 6 years, just through injuries alone, and basically injuries.
Well, Sean Couturier and Nolan Patrick,
even Ryan Ellis, they trade for him and he plays 4 games or something, and I think that's it. And they've had him for 2 years.
4 games.
Yeah, got injured, and
I don't know if I chalk that one up to luck as much, because at that point they were trading for a guy who had injury history. I don't think they would have expected it to be this bad, but I think they were kind of expecting, definitely should have known that it was a possibility.
Yeah, I think with Ryan Ellis, when you trade for him, you kind of know you're going to get maybe 55 to 65 games somewhere in there from him, but across 2 years to only get 4 games out of him is pretty tough. But I think really the biggest piece they gave up, I think, was Nolan Patrick. So it's not, and Nolan Patrick hasn't really ever played since that trade. So it's not like they really lost assets in that deal. It's just Ryan Ellis could have really helped elevate that team, and wasn't able to.
We're just talking about how bad defensively they are. I mean, Ryan Ellis is an absolute anchor. He's a great at-home defenseman,
and he can still do quite well offensively, which is something I think Philly could have used.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Kirkland version of Jacob Slavin, almost.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's really good defensively, but he can definitely still chip in offensively.
Yeah, I like that comparison. I think all are great. I think it's a pretty solid trade for all 3 teams. Especially
I think all of them got done those picks.
It really shows they're going into that rebuild, and it's shown for Columbus that they're really trying to win now. They've got their head coach figured out with Mike Babcock. They're bringing in Provorov. They still have the 3rd overall pick to bring in an impact player. I'm assuming it's going to be Leo Carlsson. So,
that turns around a squad real quick. And they just locked up guy like Goudreau. They have Line A. It
sounds like Line A
firepower on that team now,
just to actually stay there as well and play there. So. Which has been hard for Columbus to do, is actually convince players to stick around.
Yeah, convince star players to stick around. But they're putting together a pretty good squad. They got a lot of good defensive prospects. I love their defensive prospect pool, because I think they still have Bokvist. They got Matichuk. They got some good guys
Yurchek.
back there.
I think they
Yeah,
also have,
Juracek. Jeez.
they got Jake Bean last year or 2 years ago from Carolina, and he should. I'm hoping he can take that next step.
Yeah, he's looking like he'll at least be a regular guy in the NHL. Not to mention they got Werenski locked up, who I think is a bit underrated in the league. He's not like a superstar defenseman, but he's a very dependable, solid guy.
Yeah.
That,
Oh yeah, for
when
sure.
when called upon, can play the top 2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right,
What's the next thing you want to move on to here? Because you said you mentioned you had some.
I got a little pop quiz here for you, and I mean, you pay attention to hockey and stuff pretty closely, so this might be an absolute knock it out of the park one for you. But who is the current goals leader in the playoffs?
Like just from this year alone?
No, this year. Yes, this year in the playoffs.
I got two guys I'm thinking of.
All right, let's hear it.
I got two guys I'm thinking of, and I'm not sure because I don't know if he passed him yet or maybe they're tied. Is there a tie or is it one guy over the other?
It is one guy, but I think you're going to say number 1 and 2.
I don't think anybody's past Draisaitl.
It is Leon Draisaitl.
I was going to say,
with 12 games played and 13 goals.
Yeah, and then the other guy I'm thinking of, probably the guy who, assuming Vegas hangs on to win the cup. If it's not Aiden Hill who wins the Con Smyth, it would be Marchessault, because I think he's up there as well.
Yep, Marchessault is number 2 with 12 goals.
Yeah, because he's really turned it up the last couple games now.
Yeah, we were talking about guys, to win the Con Smythe in Vegas, you kind of need that guy to step up in the finals and grab that brass ring. Marchessault is doing just that.
Yeah,
he is.
He's been playing lights out.
He's looking really good. I've actually got some playoff Con Smythe Trophy odds from Epic unnamed betting site, but currently the Con Smythe Trophy they're at a 1.96 is Jonathan Marchessault, and in second is Jack Eichel at a 5.58.
Oh yeah, so it's really separated.
So he's
now.
A pretty heavy favorite at this point now.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like, I think if Vegas goes on to win, it's probably going to be Marchessault. Like, you could maybe make the argument for Hill, but the way Marchessault's played, even going back to the last couple games of that Dallas series, and then so far what he has been doing throughout games 1 and 2 of the finals here, I don't think you can really, go against picking Marchessault for it.
It's pretty hard to argue against him right about now.
Yeah.
All right, another one I want to hit you with is same question as before, but this time for points. Who is the current playoff points leader?
So I already know this one because I was looking at it before the Cup final. I was like, it's going to take a couple games or someone to have a really good game for them to pass Roope Hintz.
24 points in 19 games.
Yeah, because
to be fair,
really took
Matthew
off in the
Tkachuk has played 18
half.
games. Jack Eichel's played 19. So Roope Hintz has actually played the same amount, even though he didn't get to the finals. So.
Oh yeah, because I know he had.
Yeah, he's been doing it.
Or sorry, no, I'm thinking I can't. Oh no, Roope Hintz. He started off hot, and then he kind of tailed off towards the end. Because I remember in the Minnesota series, I know he had a 4-point game. The one where he got his hat trick, and then he had 2 other 3-point games. Yeah, so between 3 games alone in the first round, he had 10 points right there. So, but then he kind of cooled off in the later half of the playoffs.
I'm also just noticing as I look at the guys ranked top to bottom for points. There's a lot of guys here with 0, 2, 8, 10, 8, 12 penalty minutes, and then Matthew Tkachuk with 60 penalty minutes.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't help, because how many did he have last game alone?
I
Like he
think
had
did
he
he
had at
get
least,
two misconducts?
yeah, yeah. So in game one he had 14 penalty minutes. In game two he had 22.
So over half of them have been in the last two games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
He's in the Stanley Cup Finals so far. He's spent over a quarter of the total amount of um, time, in the penalty box or ejected out of the game. Like he's not playing smart right now. I'll say that for sure. Although I will say, what was it? His second misconduct was a pretty weak one. I don't know if you ended up seeing that.
I saw one of them. I don't know which one it was. Is that the hit on Eichel?
Yeah, so he ended up getting a 10-minute misconduct from that, but the second one was I don't even know how much. I can't remember how much time was left in the game or something, but like Vegas already had the game won at that point, and someone threw like a plastic rat on the ice, and then Kachuk just kind of shot it on the ice over towards Vegas's bench, and then they gave him a 10-minute misconduct for doing that, which I thought was uh, a pretty weak call to make, but it was also at a point where like the game was already over, so it really didn't
That's one of those ones
impact.
where since the game's over, I can see calling it just to be like, just to make sure Kachuk isn't on the ice for the end of the game. That doesn't mean much at that point,
Yeah.
just to like avoid the big scrums or whatever.
And you
But
can also, say that maybe the refs potentially did Kachuk a favor because as we saw before, Nurse got that 1 game suspension for instigating a fight in the final 5 minutes of a game. And if Kachuk ended up playing out the rest of that game, he very well might have instigated something and found himself suspended for game three.
right, yeah. What do you think about the him getting a misconduct for the Eichel hit?
Um, it's tough because I don't know fully what he was what he was given the misconduct for. Like I know there was kind of a huge scrum that happened after the hit. Like I know the penalty wasn't for the hit itself.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, because after he made the hit, there was a scrum that went on, and it was
Yeah.
Kachuk and Barbashev. They both got 2 minutes for roughing. Then they each got a 10-minute misconduct.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense because, that hopefully Eichel is good to go for game three here. But it
Yeah, it
definitely
sounds
looked
like
like he
Eichel will
just
be
toe
okay.
picked at the absolute worst possible time and like kind of fell down into
Yeah,
the hit. Like
yeah. Like
obviously,
it
it
wasn't
didn't look like
I mean,
Kachuk was like headhunting him or anything. Like obviously he
yeah,
saw it. Hey,
exactly.
it's Eichel. I'm gonna fricking go through him. But
Yeah, it wasn't like he
just
had the
fell at the worst time.
intent to try and injure him or anything.
Yeah.
It
Or
was
at
just an
least if
unfortunate
the intent to injure was
sequence.
there, it was with just a hit being really hard, not like he wasn't trying to hit him in the head.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I wonder with the NHL players how often they're like, I'm gonna make this hit clean, but man, if I could leave him on the ice for a bit, that might really help the team. You gotta wonder with how competitive they are.
Well, exactly right. And obviously, you always hear guys after hits be like, I hope he's okay, hope he's not hurt, and that's always the right thing to say. But like, I do agree. I feel like in the back of their mind, they gotta be like, after that hit, they're like, shit. Like, I hope he's okay. I hope Michael's okay. But if he's done for the series, like, I don't think anybody on the Panthers bench would be upset about that or complaining.
I was gonna say, do you think Petrangelo was more upset that he got suspended a game, or do you think he was more upset that Draisaitl's wrist was it still intact after that game? Like,
Well, yeah, exactly,
who can
right?
say?
Like nobody can say that Petrangelo with that slash wasn't trying to injure Draisaitl. Like even if
Yeah,
Petrangelo's like, I wasn't meaning to hurt him. Like you can't even say you were making a hockey play or
he
anything
went
there.
so out of the way for it. It was so specifically placed on the hands. Like yeah, it was very clear intent to injure, and you gotta, yeah, like I'm just still blown away by that. Like, I don't know. I always thought of, Petrangelo was the captain in St. Louis. He's always seemed like a, relatively clean player. Like, I was so shocked that it was him that did that play out of anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say I'm too surprised, and maybe that's just because obviously watched San Jose and St. Louis battle it out in
Yeah,
the
you're a
playoffs a
Western
fair
Conference
bit.
boy.
So I wasn't really surprised, to see him do something like that. But I will say, I bet he would have been feeling a lot better serving that 1 game suspension if he had taken
If Draisaitl wasn't playing
out.
that game either.
Yeah, I will say that for sure.
Yeah. Do we want to do the draft earlier, or do we want to leave that till the end?
We can do that at the end, kind of a wrap up of the episode. We can save that till the end. I know you mentioned something about
so much stuff there.
Yeah, kind of a throwback to the past, and now we're seeing it again.
Yes, the parallels of Braden Holtby's the save against for Washington against Vegas some 4 years ago, and now Adin Hill absolutely robbing the Panthers and helping the Golden Knights go up 2-0 in the series early. Like I don't know if you've seen the pictures or videos of those two saves side by side, but they are so identical. Like,
yeah, I haven't seen them side by side,
but they're very close.
Well, it's like even when I first saw Hill make that save, my immediate first thing I think of is like, holy shit, that's very similar to what Braden Holtby did, because that's, I mean, you could argue that Holtby save is one of the 5 biggest saves in NHL history. Like, especially like not only for how amazing the save was in itself, but if he doesn't make that save, there's a chance Washington doesn't win the cup there, and Ovechkin, never gets his ring. So, and then now you see Adin Hill do it, and you're like, if Vegas goes on to win, that save is going to be a very big talking point at the end of the day if they win.
Yeah, I mean, so when I first saw that, I was thinking, you know what? We just talked about how players got to step up in the finals for Vegas if they want to win the Con Smyth. And I was like, look at that. But, Marchessault has also really been putting in the work. It'd be interesting to see he'll have a couple good more games in the finals and see if he can narrow that gap. It's so
tough for me. Like, I'm living in a nightmare as a San Jose fan, because on one hand, like, as a San Jose fan, you don't want to see, your biggest rival win the cup, especially them to win their first cup before your franchise can win their first one. But then not only like, I'd be shocked if you could find 5 San Jose fans who are like, oh, I like Marchessault. Like, when he plays against San Jose, he's such a tool, and you just, he's almost kind of like a Marchand. He's a guy like you hate to play against and whatnot, but like you're like, if he was on my team, I would love to have him. So then seeing him win the Con Smyth would be tough, but I think it'd be even tougher, seeing Adin Hill win it after you dumped him off to Vegas for like a 5th round pick or something, and then you go in and see him lead your rival team to the cup and get the Con Smyth. Like, it's it's a bit of a tough watch, but it's also incredible to really see just how big of a bounce back Adin Hill's having, and proving that he belongs in the league. And so
any goalie who can make it to the NHL has the skill to be an incredible goalie in the NHL. They just have to get hot at the right moment.
Yeah, like, and boy, has Hill ever gotten hot at the right time.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say about, those certain types of disruptor players, those shit disturbers that, you hate when they're on every other team, but then they're on your team and you're like, Oh, this I don't know, man. He just plays a really hard game. He's really good at getting in your head. The amount of people in the Tampa Bay Lightning community when we signed Corey Perry, who are like, yeah, you know what? I've actually always loved Corey Perry. I've never said anything bad about Corey Perry. Like, is pretty funny. Meanwhile, it was just 2 or 3 years ago where he was, spearing Point in the nuts in the finals in the bubble.
Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that it's tough, but like, it's also a really cool story in the end. So you also got to give it its credit where it's due.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
You have any other big talking points you
Yeah,
wanted to touch on?
I think I'm kind of out for now. I think those were most of the big ones.
Okay. Yeah, no, because like there's really not much. Like the only other big things that's kind of going on aside from the Cup Finals was that one trade that was made, and then we'll kind of keep an eye on the Carter Hart situation. I don't think we're really gonna see anything happen soon with that. I think if he is to be traded or whatnot, I think it would come more around the draft or maybe even like the beginning of free agency.
Yeah, what's his contract status? Does he have like 2 years left, including the rest of this offseason?
He's got one more year after this season, I believe.
Right.
But
So they don't
fair.
have to like rush to get him out the door or anything.
Exactly, right? And especially if you're moving a guy like Carter Hart, who does have value, like you don't want to rush into it or just pull the trigger just to, have this situation done with. Because I think you could get, especially with the return they got for Provorov and the way that Daniel Briere handled the whole situation. I think if he plays his cards right, he could get a really good return for Carter Hart. But I think there's also teams that don't necessarily want to make the move just yet. They kind of want to feel things out and get through the draft and get their guys that they already have re-signed before they, start bringing in other pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't rush trading a player of that high value. Like even if, teams aren't, jumping at him, like he's not a superstar, but it's definitely one that you gotta play a bit of a longer game to wait out for the right deal. That was a really good trade because that was the first trade that Briere has made as the GM of the Flyers, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
so.
Man, after blunder with Chuck Fletcher, well, you can quote me on this, the worst GM the NHL has seen in at least a decade. That's a really good way to show up, put your mark on the team, and start making an impact immediately.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part with Chuck Fletcher was it's very similar to what San Jose was in for a couple years. It was always trying to kind of retool and rebuild on the fly while still trying to be competitive, and it just never works. And Briere's shown like right from the beginning of his tenure, we're going to have a few shitty years, but we're going to go through an actual rebuild, and we're going to build this team up from the ground up the way I want. And you know what? You give them 4 or 5 years, I think the Flyers have the chance to be a really good team if Briere keeps kind of keeping on the same path that he showed that he's wanting to take.
Yeah, especially if they can, some of these guys, whether they can keep them and, have them still there when it turns around, like Sean Couturier, or, maybe he gets healthy, he has a decent season this year or next year, and then you can trade him for some more picks, prospects, and whatnot.
Yeah, like exactly.
They have enough. They don't have enough pieces to be competitive, but they have enough pieces to move out for prospects that you could definitely see them being competitive in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So I think before we dive into our little draft here to wrap things up, one thing I actually did want to talk about because I just saw something pop up about it. So Pierre-Luc Dubois has made it known that he wants out of Winnipeg,
Shocking.
which and again it's like okay, Pierre-Luc Dubois wants out of Winnipeg. It's like okay, but we all know the only destination he wants to go to is Montreal. And that's been known from the moment that it's been known since he was in Columbus. And he was traded to Winnipeg. It was like, okay, Winnipeg's got him, but like for only a certain amount of time because once his deal is up, as it is pretty soon here, that he wants to go to Montreal. That's where he's always wanted to go, and that hasn't changed once.
Montreal's probably going to fleece the Jets so bad on that trade just because they have all the leverage. Like,
well, and the thing is like Pierre-Luc Dubois is he's an RFA right now, so he's got no contract currently, but Winnipeg still holds his rights. So, it's like, is it going to be something where Winnipeg just, they qualify him and then, Montreal offer sheets them, and then, but then with that, it kind of really depends on the dollar value for how much you give up for him.
yeah.
Or does Montreal just straight up make a trade with Winnipeg for him, and then they can sign him to an 8-year deal at whatever the two sides can agree upon? I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out.
I think Winnipeg has enough good players, even if it's not super realistic that they could quickly turn around and like win the cup. They could definitely be playoff contenders at the least. So I definitely see them going the route of trying to just trade his rights to Montreal and get some players back. And
even the way that Dubois played in the playoffs has really got to help his value as well. I think that'll definitely do a lot for what you can get back for him. And I think probably if a trade is to happen, I think the biggest piece will probably be I don't think Montreal's definitely not going to be trading their own first round pick, but I could see them now trading Florida's first round pick because that's, obviously going to be either 31 or 32. And then, you're going to have to throw in, some kind of prospect of some sort to make it go through. But
right.
It'd be interesting to see because I think it's pretty much certain that a trade will happen between the two sides.
Absolutely. And if any other team takes them, I don't even know what they're thinking. Like, you'll just be the third team in a row that he says, all right, don't re-sign me. I want to go to Montreal. Like, he just made up his mind about it.
Well, and even with Ottawa, Alex DeBrincat, he's an RFA now. His contract's up, and it sounds like he doesn't want to commit to Ottawa long term, and it sounds like his preferred destination to go to is Detroit.
Really?
Which is more of an interesting one, I think, than the Dubois and Winnipeg and Montreal because, again, kind of like what I mentioned before, they're in the same division, and DeBrincat's I would say he's at least a safe 30-plus goal scorer a year. He's even put up 40-some years, but that was also playing with Patrick Kane. So
I definitely think he could get back to 40 goals with the right line mates.
I agree. And so, again, it's interesting, like, Ottawa probably really doesn't want to have to trade him to a, divisional opponent. But at the same time, what is Detroit, if Detroit does decide to pursue him, what are they willing to give up in terms of, I'm assuming prospects and picks for the most part, again, to a divisional opponent that you're going to be, potentially battling in the playoffs in a couple years when both teams really hit their peak.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, I don't, obviously I have no idea what it's like playing for the Senators, but I'm surprised that he wants out so quickly because, like, they're putting together a really nice team over there.
They are. Like, they're really coming on the rise.
Give these guys 1 or 2 more years to season a little bit, and also just if they can get lucky and stay healthy, like their top 6 is pretty nasty.
I think a part of it also, and you can say, oh yeah, like Austin Matthews, but again, we don't know how that is going to play out. But it's also you're not seeing it very much in the NHL nowadays, where like big American players are, committing to Canadian teams kind of long term.
Yeah, they a lot of them seem to come up for their ELC or for a bit longer, and then they want to head back home. Like
Yeah, like I mean,
it
most of the
just seems
big
like a really
stars
tough
on
sell.
yeah, like most of the big stars on Canadian teams are, either Canadians or European players. Like even Connor Hellebuck, an American goalie. It sounds like he's only got one more year left on his deal, and it doesn't sound like he's wanting to re-sign with Winnipeg. So it sounds like Winnipeg's going to have to, kind of see what the market's like and what people are going to offer on him this offseason.
Yeah, I think with him it's a bit more of, he knows he's in his prime. He's kind of getting to the back half. He's 30 years old. He's starting to, you know, it, he's got to win that cup soon, sooner rather than later. Like especially as a goalie, like it's a lot harder to, be out there at 38 years old and be in a fourth line role. Like it's either you're playing or you're not as the goalie.
Yeah,
So
and it's
I think he sees that the Jets are kind of entering towards a retool slash rebuild, and he wants to go somewhere competitive.
yeah, yeah, and it's tough because like I do honestly believe if Winnipeg, didn't lose Nikolai Ehlers before the playoffs, if they didn't lose Josh Morrissey early in game 3, and even having Cole Perfetti be out the entirety of the playoffs, I think Winnipeg could have really given Vegas a healthy run in the first round. So it's, but I do feel
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah,
the
this was
thing. They
kind of the
still
year for Winnipeg to go all in and win because, yeah, now they're kind of going to have to, I wouldn't say necessarily a rebuild because they still have good pieces there, but
they
definitely a
do have
retool, I
yeah
think, is kind of on the horizon for them.
yeah I it's rough because I definitely think with those players uninjured they could have made it more of a series. I really don't see much of a world where they win it still against this year's Vegas, but they definitely would have pushed it I think to at least 6 games. And
Yeah.
yeah, it would have been a lot closer. Like Josh Morrissey was huge this year. He
Yeah.
was so
And
good.
to lose him really, really hurt their back end quite a bit.
All right. With that being said, do we want to slide into the draft here?
Yeah. So I'll just kind of go over it quickly for everybody here. So what we're kind of doing is we're going to be drafting a team of 7 consisting of, your 3 forwards, a center, left, and right winger, your 2 defensemen, 1 goalie, and then we're going to add in 1 coach. So we're going to kind of go back and forth and draft up our teams, and then we're going to have our teams here. I don't know how we're, going to necessarily do this kind of competitively. But then I think once we get to the start of the regular season next year, then, if we want to maybe make a couple moves depending on how the offseason goes, we can. And then we'll kind of, have our teams battle it out head to head throughout the season.
And we, at least to my knowledge, we don't know what the scoring is going to be like, but it's going to be rather similar to like how you'd score fantasy hockey, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, we'll kind of go off, the amount of goals and points that all of them are getting, and I think maybe just for goalies and coaches, maybe we'll just, go based off like maybe the total wins of their respective teams,
Win
kind of something
wins,
like
maybe,
that.
add in shutouts or
Yeah,
save percentage, maybe if it's like, if one of our goalies is like, point 0.2 higher than the other one or something, or 0.02 rather.
yeah,
Like
yeah. We kind
we'll
of know
eyeball it.
the bare bones of how we want to do it, and we'll kind of finalize that
Alright.
as we're kind of
I
getting closer to
right
next
out the
season.
gate, I'm just gonna make the proposal. Do we wanna ban Connor McDavid from competitive play? Because otherwise, whoever gets first pick, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. If we want to do that to kind of open it up more so it's like, yeah. So then whoever gets the first pick doesn't just immediately kind of get a home run with him. I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, I
And
came in
it's
first
just
in
a true
our like
testament to
14 person.
how good he is as a player that
Yeah, I came
we
first
have to
in our
nerf
like
him.
14 person fantasy league this past year, and I picked McDavid first overall. Like he he did some damage.
Oh, did he ever? Yeah, yeah. So I'm okay. Yeah, letting him sit this one out. He can be the commissioner. Um,
That'll be the title that McDavid commissions our league.
do you have your phone handy on you?
I do.
Maybe we'll ask Siri to flip a coin or something here for the first pick.
You know what? I still haven't set up Siri somehow, but luckily you can just Google flip a coin. All right. I guess I don't have to tell you to call it in the air. Just heads or tails.
Um, okay, I'm gonna treat this like Super Bowl Sunday here right now. I'm gonna go with heads.
Good. I wanted tails. Flip it. It's tails.
Fuck. I was almost gonna go tails because tails never fails, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna switch it up. Shit. All right.
I feel like most people always choose heads, so I just always choose tails because I'm just like a bitch like that.
Yeah. So
It's
before
cool to
we
do. It's cool to do the thing that everyone isn't doing.
yeah, so before we dive in here, do we want to do like specifically a left wing and a right wing and a left defenseman and a right defenseman, or just two wingers, two defensemen? Doesn't matter.
I'm good doing. I'm good doing either, really. I'm definitely down to do at least left wings and right wings separately.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a ton on, which are right hand or right side demon, which are left across the entire league. Like, some of them Makar's a right side defenseman, but I don't know a ton of them.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so we can do left wing, right wing, and then just two defensemen.
Two defensemen.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right.
But I guess you get the honors of the number one overall pick.
You know what? I've got one guy that I do want to take first, but the thing is, I don't think you'll take him if I don't pick him first. I think if I don't take him now, he'll drop to 3 and I can still get him.
Okay.
So
Are we
yes.
are we doing like a snake format where you go and then I do two and then you do, or just go back and forth? I'm good with either way. I just want to.
I just assume since there's only 2 of us, we just go back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, that's
But
fine with me. I just wanted to make sure so I can.
I think if
off my list
McDavid
here.
was in, then we would do it the other way because McDavid's like
Ooh, you know what?
such
Yeah,
a,
good
like,
call. Yeah,
such a
he's
price.
basically two players.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I think. What does Draisaitl
Don't
count
fuck
as?
this one up.
Do you know where he plays?
I'm counting him as a center because that's what he's listed as. Like I know
He
sometimes
is?
he plays wing, but he's more naturally center.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go Draisaitl.
Fuck. Yeah, I kind of figured. Okay, so that kind of opens it up now because now I'm like, I don't need to rush and take a center. That was kind of my thing. Is like I wanted to.
Oh, that's very true, and that kind of forced my hand.
Locked
You know,
in.
I gotta pick the center first because, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's just
You can
do I
draft a
which way
center
do
in
I
the.
want to go?
You can draft a center like 12th overall or whatever the last pick is, and still get you know, McKinnon or something.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I guess there maybe is kind of a benefit to going second, but like it's nothing really crazy. Like it's not like a advantage.
Kind of
per
depends how
se.
good Draisaitl does, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking at two guys here right now, and I know whichever one I don't take,
I'm
uh,
going to.
you're going to exactly. Um,
You're looking at wingers.
yeah. You probably
I've
know
got
which two I'm looking at right now as well, I bet.
I've got 5 wingers written down. I only 2 of them are like backups. If you somehow get 2 of the other guys,
Okay.
but I want those top 3.
So I guess the biggest thing is it doesn't really matter with Draisaitl because he does it all. Are we just doing like are we doing a certain thing like where goals are worth more than assists? Are we just doing off points or
Um, I'm good with making goals worth a bit more. I don't think they should be worth too much more.
like so say when we're doing it, goals are worth say 2 points and then assists are worth 1 point?
I was thinking a bit closer than that. I was thinking like if assists are 1, goals are like 1.3 or 1.4, something like that.
Okay, so they're like there's really not too much of a difference between them. Like there is,
It's
but, like, it's
more
nothing
based on the point.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ah.
Like points are worth overall more than goals, but like, a guy like Marner, if he's putting up, I guess Marner started really scoring these past few years, so he's not as good an example. But a guy that's like a pure playmaker wouldn't be as beneficial, a Barzell type.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Still on the table if you want him, Matt Barzell.
I'm really just I'm unsure because I don't know how confident I am in Boston, especially if they lose. Like if Bergeron and Krejci doesn't come back and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it to you. I'm gonna have to.
Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. You piece.
With
Pick a Con Smyth favorite.
I could pick a guy who doesn't have a Con Smyth. Yeah,
You bish.
I yeah, I have to do it. I'm gonna take Nikita Kucherov.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, he
really
was one of the 3 for
to,
sure.
I really wanted to take Pasternak, but I'm not sure how Boston's gonna fully be looking next year. And again, like Matthews, I don't see Pasternak getting up to 60 goals again.
Yeah. That being said, we've had 3 60-goal seasons in the past 2 years. If scoring just keeps going up, that might just like when guys would hit like a 55-goal season before, and it's like they're probably win the Rocket. Like that might be the feeling that people get just whenever somebody hits 60 goals now. Like it's
Yeah, exactly right.
if scoring just keeps going up. There was a lot of 50-goal scores last year.
Yeah, was there ever like it's goal scoring is up this year for sure. All right, round 2, back to you.
So now, in the same vein as you with centers, I don't have to rush to pick
A right winger.
a right winger at least.
Yeah.
So I might still want to get in there for a left winger. Oh, that's we're just doing 2 defensemen.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, is it goofy not to?
I don't know. It
Defenseman?
depends who you're leaning.
No. I'm gonna go Andrei Vasilevsky.
Ooh, really? Okay. I didn't think you were going to take a goalie that soon. But you know what? I like it. I like that pick.
Yep, I think he said this year around game 35 he had a lot of injuries start piling up. He's finally got a long off season to rest up. If we can make some decent depth free agency signings, I think he's going to put up some big numbers, get a lot of wins.
Yeah. I will say, I'll let you know, I wasn't planning on taking a goalie with my first like 4 picks.
I kind of figured, but I also figured the defenseman I'm wanting to take. I just figured you probably wouldn't take next.
Okay. And we're just doing just 2 defensemen. Doesn't matter what side they're on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Center, left wing, right winger, 2D, goalie coach.
Yeah.
I assume we're probably both taking the coach last.
Most
that's
likely,
really just like
yeah.
backing a team.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go. Ooh, I'm looking at 2 guys here. I'm going with the defenseman here.
Yep. I imagine you're looking at 2 of the same ones I'm looking at. I'm looking at 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth between these 2 guys. Like I'm really expecting both of them to really have a good season next year. With my second pick, I'm going to take Cale Makar.
Yep, that's fair. He's good. He was the one I was thinking of taking. Then I thought, you know what?
I think I gave you like a freebie with the other defenseman now, I think.
Oh, maybe. It's a little closer. So, the way we're doing obviously isn't like the best defenseman. We're going off points.
Yeah.
We're looking at for the most points. There's still quite a few high-scoring defensemen.
There is, yeah. And I went with Makar because I was like, he's the safest pick to put up a good number of points here. He may not have the most, but he's such a safe pick where you're at least, assuming he stays healthy, that is, you're going to get at least 70 points out of him.
Yeah. And I have one guy that I really like. I really like him as a player, and I have another guy that he's obviously incredible, but I don't like his game as much. I also don't like his team very much. But his team, the team built around him is so much more competent.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Adam Fox.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was kind of figured you were talking about Adam Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick there.
Yeah, he's just on such a good power play. He's on such a good team that he's like, how could he not put up points?
Exactly, right? Like it'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, I wanted to pick a guy like Yossi, but Nashville is I don't know, looking a bit weaker than they have as of late, despite doing so much better later in the season.
Yeah, no, I had really high hopes for Yossi this year. I mean, it's not even like he necessarily had a bad season by any means. I think it was just, a lot of people expect him to be up near almost 100 points like he was the year prior, and that's unrealistic to expect basically 200 points
to do
season
that twice in a row.
But I guess back to me, I am expecting a defenseman to do it twice in a row. I'm going with Erik Karlsson.
I was wondering if you would. That's fair. I
think
I don't know if San
Jose's not going to do good next year by any means, but I think they're going to have a lot more of their younger high end prospects like Eklund and Bordlow coming up, and then and Karlsson might even be traded. I don't even know if he'll be on San Jose next year necessarily.
I've got 1 or 2 guys I'm thinking about picking, but I don't know where they're going to play. But that's also kind of exciting for it.
But I also just really want to see Karlsson actually not just be like he's kind of pops off for 1 year and then goes back to, not being the greatest. So I'm really hoping for a good year from him again. But we'll see what happens. But that's my my third pick. Back to you, round number 4.
All right. I almost just picked another guy who is really good, but then I remembered another man who fills that role even better. So I'm going to go with my
Don't
left
do it.
winger,
Fuck,
Kirill
you're gonna do it.
Kaprizov.
Oh, okay. That's actually a very good pick.
Yeah, I've had another guy eyed for that left wing spot the whole time, and at the last second, I was like, "Wait, there is a stud over in Minnesota."
That's a very good pick, and he's only gonna do better next year, I think. Like he didn't have the strong when we say he didn't have a strong season this year, it's like he didn't put up the 90 points like we expected, but he still had a very very solid season.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting now because I don't. You need to take another defenseman and another winger and then a coach,
You need a left winger,
a center,
a center,
a
and
goalie, and a coach.
a goalie and a coach.
So, like realistically, I don't have to worry about you taking a center left winger from me, or a goalie. So I could just take my coach, but
Yeah,
I'll
definitely
leave.
could.
I think I might leave my coach till the end. Once I know what my team's
Yeah, like
I'll hire
so
my coach.
Like, what does the coach really mean? Like, are we even picking coaches, or are we just picking teams?
Yeah, like we're picking a coach, but yeah, it's basically for their team.
So we're like trying to pick
anything.
like a President's Trophy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Team.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. I'm going to my one position, honestly, the one that I'm really not certain of for how I want to go is my my center.
yep.
Because there's so many different ways you can
Yeah, and now that we can't,
go
now that
about
we've
it.
both kind of cannibalized ourselves, we've taken all the other roles. So like, I can't take them. So like, feel free to talk through your process with centers because I can't steal any of them.
I mean, my centers, like I think it's really, it's kind of come down to, the other two outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, and that's McKinnon and Matthews.
Of course.
I think is more so kind of the direction I'm leaning in. I also kind of pondered on Tage Thompson as well.
When you first brought this idea to me, I thought we were going to draft like more than like just one lineup. I thought we were going to do a couple rounds, and I was keeping my eye on Tage Thompson to try and get him as like a value late pick. Yeah, he's good, and the Sabres are only getting better.
But I like to procrastinate, and I'm going to put off taking my center. I'm going to go to my left winger. I'm going to take. Oh fuck! Yeah, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to take Jason Robertson.
That Jason Robertson was the one that I had on my list the whole time before I thought of Kaprizov. So,
see, and I didn't think you were going to go with Kaprizov. I was going back and forth between Matthew Tkachuk and Robertson, and I was like, honestly, it's such a pick 'em. I'm just going to let you pick one first, and then I'll take the other one. And then you took Kaprizov, and I was like, now I have to actually make a decision between the two. But I'm gonna go with Robertson for my left winger.
Well, speaking of him, I think I'm gonna go with Matthew Tkachuk as my right winger.
He's a left winger.
Are you sure? I think he's a right winger. I think is Brady Tkachuk a left winger?
Brady Tkachuk's the right winger, I believe, or maybe they're both. Yeah, they're both left wingers.
No, I just googled it. It says he's a right winger.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Shoots left.
Oh, then yeah, that's a fair
now this
pick.
website also says this website does say left winger. I'm getting mixed messages here.
Well,
and then on Wikipedia it says right wing / left wing.
I'll let you make the call. If you want to allow it out, I'm totally fine letting you have them.
I have up until right there when you said on the left wing, you were thinking of him. I've been planning on taking him probably as my right winger, like after you picked Kucherov.
Okay. Then that's fine.
If they were bringing the band back together more in Boston, I'd take Pasternak, or if we knew where Marner was going to end up, or if he was going to stay, or who he'd be playing with on that top line, I might pick him. But I think Kachuk's probably the safest bet.
Interesting. That's not who I thought you were going to be picking for your right winger once I opened it up there.
Did you think I was going Pasternak?
No, I thought you were going with Rantanen.
That would be a good pick too.
Right, I thought you had Rantanen ready to go there.
He's good. I don't think he's top 2 right winger in the league good. I think Kachuk's elevating his game pretty good.
Well, I'm going back on what I said. I'm going to take my coach here now.
You can't make the decision on the center yet?
No. So I'm going to my coach. I'm taking Rod the Bod Brendamore as my coach.
Oh. That's a good one. That's a good pick.
I wanted to leave it to the end, but I was like, man, I have such high hopes for Carolina in the regular season, and then to fall off in the playoffs. But we're only doing regular season, so I was like, this is the perfect guy to take. Leaves it back to you. You got defenseman
I have left to take
and a coach.
A defenseman and a coach?
Yeah.
Oh man, the defenseman is such a crapshoot. I want to take Hedman, but I don't know how healthy he's going to be by the time next season starts.
Yeah, you never. Yeah, it's always one of the biggest things, right?
It's really right there for me with either Yossi or Hedman. I think. I don't think there's, unless I'm wildly forgetting somebody incredible.
Hey, never know. Josh Morrissey could have a bounce back year, or not bounce back, but like he could build on.
He could,
but again, he's also like with that injury. You're also wondering what how good will he be at the start of next year and whatnot. So
yeah, and I think I'm gonna go with Roman Yossi.
That's a very solid pick. Because he missed a lot
mainly,
so if he can stay healthy, that's a huge pick.
And a huge thing that played into that was he's the guy there. He's gonna get all the ice time and stuff. Hedman, for probably a good 60-70% of the season this year, was playing on power play too. They've been seasoning Sergachev on the first power play and getting him used to running it.
Yeah.
So, if Hedman's not on that first power play unit, it's going to be pretty hard to keep up in points.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, that's a good pick. And there was also part of the reason why I asked for like how, like, if there is a much of difference between goals. And it's just because I was also looking at, almost passing up on Erik Karlsson and taking Quinn Hughes. But with him, you're going to it's going to be just a lot of assists rather than goals.
Yeah.
So, and with Vancouver, I don't know what's fully going on there. They could be, a bounce back team and really good next year, or they could be, bottom of the league. So
yeah, you absolutely never know what you're getting with Vancouver until the season's over. Every year when they make the playoffs, I look at their lineup, like, dude, they could do some damage, and then they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's not even a spectacular failure like it isn't usually in Toronto. It's just like they just kind of fizzle out and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's too bad. They got a lot of good pieces. They got a great goalie.
Yeah.
But I guess it's back to you. Is it center time?
Well, you mentioned the team before, and so I'm going to do it. I'm going out to Long Island, and I'm going to take Ilya Sorokin as my goalie.
I thought you were actually picking Matt Barzell for your center. I
No,
forgot
no,
you still
no.
had a goalie. I was like,
I was
what is
trying. I
he
was trying to
doing?
trick you up a little bit there. No, I'm going. I'm going with
You
Sorokin
absolutely
though.
did. I forgot.
Yeah, and
That's
again,
a
you know
good
what?
pick.
It's if Allmark didn't just have the craziest year ever with Boston, I think Sorokin would be, uh, the Vezina winner this year. And I think next year with a more healthy Islanders team and more established coaching, now that Lane Lambert has a full year of coaching under his belt as a head coach at least.
Right.
I think the team can do much better, and I think Sorokin's only going to get better. He's still just really finding his footing in the NHL, so I've got high hopes for him next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what'll count more in our scoring. Is it going to be, wins, or is it going to be, save percentage or, shutouts and stuff like that? Because
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really
Right.
going to matter
Yeah.
on that front. So I
But
just
it just
have
leaves you
I
now
just have a
just
coach left, and
all
then
a
you got
coach.
center.
Yeah, and I think I know who you're taking as your coach. I'd be shocked if you aren't taking him.
I I have a very clear-cut guy who I personally think is the best coach in the league.
I would probably
That being
agree.
said, he knows how to win Stanley Cups. And that's what he cares about. He's not about going after the President's Trophy or first in the division. So I'm not going to go with John Cooper.
Ooh. Okay.
And I'm going to go. Is he crazy? Is he crazy enough to do it? I'm going to go with Sheldon Keefe. I'm going with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
What the fuck did you just say?
Yep. I'm going with the Leafs. They have been so consistently good in the regular season, and I don't feel too bad about it because luckily I'm not betting on them for the playoffs.
Yeah, and that would be an interesting one to keep an eye on because, like, will he even be? I'm assuming it sounds like he's probably going to be there if they haven't fired him yet. I don't think they're going to fire him later on. That's a
I
that's a
kind
very
of
off
think
the board pick. Wow.
I kind of think they will fire him. In which case, at the start of the season, I'd like to switch to whoever they sign up for the job
Yeah.
in Toronto.
Oh yeah. If he gets fired, then
Because I
obviously.
do think he's probably gone. Just not even because he's done a bad job, but because he was brought in under Kyle Dubas, and with Dubas being gone, GMs love to come in and bring in their own guys.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So. But yeah, that's an interesting pick. All right.
I was trying to think like who's an incredibly safe bet, who's been really good in the regular season over the past few years, and the Rangers have been pretty solid, Carolina, Vegas,
Yeah.
Tampa's always been very good, but they're not usually finishing top 3 in the league anymore. They kind of let their foot off a bit in February, March, and kind of get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? All right. Good pick.
Yeah, I think
Can't
no
say
team's
anything bad
in
about
more
that
in
one.
win now mode than Toronto at the moment, it seems. So
Well,
hopefully they really go all in for it this year.
you know what? If you're hyping up Toronto that much,
Oh,
I told myself before we started this, I said it to myself in my head, I'm not going to, and I'm glad you didn't either because it kind of opens up and spreads it out more. Not picking like 2 players from the same team onto our team. So I'm not going to take Nathan McKinnon then because I already got Makar. And you're so high on Toronto. I'm going to take Austin Cheeks Matthews as my center.
I was ready. I was ready for the Matthew Knies pick. I was so ready.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Austin Matthews. I was really between him and McKinnon. Tage Thompson and Jack Hughes kind of creeped into my head a bit.
Jack Hughes was in my mind, but I don't know if he's at that upper echelon yet. Like people talk about how the season that Matthews had this past year as if he had like a down year. I mean, so dude missed like 15 or 20 games, didn't he?
I think he
And
only
he's
missed
still
like
like
10 or so.
yeah, he missed like 10. He still put up like 41 goals, I believe, 42.
Okay, so he only missed 8 games and he put up 40 goals. But again, it's almost like what I talked about at the before last season even started. I said right away, because I didn't believe Matthews was going to get back up to 60 goals. And people were even talking about him getting 70. And I said he could put up a 50 goal season and, 100 points. And people would still say that's a down year for him because the expectations for him were so crazy high that it wasn't realistic for him to live up to those ones.
Yeah,
And he's also on a contract year now. So if he really wants to cash in and get that
almost
money,
made me pick him.
he's really gonna, I think, step it up even a step further. So
Yeah, him being on a contract year almost made me pick him over Draisaitl. It was very close.
I was almost wondering if you were going to take him over Draisaitl, but I think Draisaitl's the safer pick because you know what you're going to get for sure out of him.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking if he was a winger because I was insta locking him immediately if he was a winger.
Yeah. So to kind of just run through here and make it more condensed for everyone, my team consists of Austin Matthews, Jason Robertson, Nikita Kucherov, Erik Karlsson, Cale Makar, Ilya Sorokin, and Rod the Bod Brendamore as my coach. If you want to run through your group there.
That is a nice team, dude.
Damn, but when you say yours is also like just as good.
Yeah, I've got centered by Draisaitl. On left wing, I got Kirill Kaprizov. Right wing, I got Matthew Tkachuk. On defense, I have Roman Josi and Adam Fox. I got Vasilevsky in net. And I got Sheldon Keefe on the bench.
It's a very good team there. I'll give you that. Both are good, but again, it's two people picking, from the best players. Like obviously, both teams are going to be really good. So it'd be interesting to see how these teams.
It's really easy to look at your own team and be like, "Oh, he's fucked," and also look at the other team and be like, "Oh shit, I'm so fucked."
Yeah, exactly right. For sure. But I think that kind of wraps up everything we got here planned for this episode.
Yeah, I think your team might have to rely on, continued success from this past year.
Yeah.
Guys that aren't, I don't want to say not proven, but not as proven as, like Draisaitl's put up how many points in how many years, but
yeah,
Robertson, Karlsson, and Sorokin are kind of, either new-ish or getting back to playing at their prime.
Yeah. My team's really gotta build
off.
They can
replicate what they did last year. It'll be a slam dunk.
Yeah. It's a very high risk, high reward decisions, but we'll see how it plays out. I can't be worse than Peter Chiarelli, so I got that going for me at least, I can say.
At the very least, you're not Peter Chiarelli, so
exactly. At the end of the day, as long as I got that going for me, I'm happy. But do you wanna sign us off here?
Yeah. Good night.